Hello, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I have my Booktubeathon 2018 wrap up. So Booktubeathon was a 1 week long readathon hosted by Ariel Bassett. It featured video challenges and Instagram challenges, which I didn't take part in. A lot of people daily vlogged, which I did. I have a whole playlist of everything I did for Booktubeathon, which I will link up in the cards if you haven't checked that out yet. I had a great time. I really thought I would hate this readathon, but I actually really loved it. Daily vlogging was so much fun and I love what I came up with. And now I'm just going to give you my reviews on what I read. So first let's get into the stats. I read 7 books in 7 days. I read 1,436 pages, which worked out at an average of 205 pages per day. My star ratings, I read 4 5-star books, 1 4-star book, 1 3-star book, and 1 1-star book. For the demographics, I read 1 children's book, 2 YA books, 1 new adult, and 3 adult. For the formats, I read 5 standard novels, 1 graphic novel, and 1 audiobook. And for the genres, I read 3 fantasy, 1 sci-fi, 1 dystopian, 1 contemporary, and 1 romance. So normally when I do my wrap-ups, I do them in the order that I read them. However, because this is for a readathon, I'm going to go in order of the challenges. I did complete all 7 challenges. The first challenge was to let a coin toss select your first read. My coin toss selected Knocked Out by My Nunga Nungas by Louise Renison. I gave this one 5 stars. It's a young adult contemporary that follows the diary of a 14-year-old girl as she's sort of going through puberty, discovering makeup and leg shaving and boys, and it's just essentially about her adventures and misadventures in romance and all the things to do with growing up. This is one of my favourite books from childhood. I absolutely loved it. It is the 3rd book in the series. I have read books 1 through 9 when I was young. Never read the last book in the series, so now I'm rereading them all. Don't really have much else to say about this apart from that it's still hilarious now. And this was the audiobook that I listened to. I would highly recommend the audiobooks of these. They are narrated by the author and they're really, really funny. The next book that I read was an ebook and it was for the challenge to read a book about something you want to do. I chose This Girl, which is the 3rd book in the Slam series by Colleen Hoover. And this is a new adult romance. This series follows Laken and Will. They go on a date without knowing that he is her teacher. This series is very problematic, as you can guess, with it being written by Colleen Hoover, and it focuses heavily on slam poetry, which is the aspect of it that I would want to do to fill the challenge. I gave this 1 star. This is the only 1-star book I have read this year. This book is essentially the first book told from Will's perspective. A lot of the scenes are just word for word from the first book, just adding his thoughts, but they're not necessary. I don't feel like I gained anything extra from having his perspective. The only time that the storyline really changed was in the last few chapters where you got a little bit of after what happened the 2nd book, but it wasn't necessary. I don't understand why it was written. I don't understand how it was allowed to be published, given that it didn't really add enough to the series for it to warrant a separate book. For the challenge to both read and watch a book-to-movie adaptation, I read Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. I gave this one 5 stars. This is an adult sci-fi. This is quite a short book, so I'm not going to delve into the plot too much, but this follows the 12th expedition into Area X. Area X is a patch of wilderness with varying ecosystems where very strange things happen. 11 expeditions have been sent in before. Something has happened to all of them. They have either died, disappeared, or something else mysterious has occurred. And this follows the biologist of the 12th expedition just trying to figure out the mysteries of Area X. What I will say about this is while I loved it, I didn't have a clue what was going on. It's very creepy, it's very atmospheric, it's like a sci-fi bordering on horror. I kind of wish it had been tied up in a bow and I actually knew what was going on, but that kind of added to the beauty of it. It's written in the style of an expedition journal, and I know my friend Leah from Leah and 26 Letters really doesn't like the writing style, but I found it quite fitting, as not only does it fit like the analytical style of an expedition journal, it also matches the character of the biologist that we follow, who as a scientist is very analytical, and she talks about her life a little bit and how she was quite removed from it, so it really fits her in that sense as well. I do want to carry on with the rest of the Southern Route trilogy, just mainly because I'm hoping for some sort of conclusion to the events. Like, I want to know what is actually happening. I know they're supposedly not as good, but I am going to purchase the other 2 books soon and then continue. The 4th challenge was to read a book with green on the cover. This is the only book where I deviated from my TBR. I had The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo on there, but I just didn't get to it in time. I am still reading that in August though, so watch it for my wrap up if you want to hear my thoughts on that. So instead I wrapped up the last 140 pages that I had left of Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. This is an adult epic fantasy, and it is the first book in Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere, as well as his first published works. This follows three perspectives. One is a prince, one is his betrothed, and the other is a fanatical priest. And it centres around the city of Elantris, which is a city that was ruled by gods and had magic, and it was kind of like a utopia. And then mysteriously a curse fell upon all of the gods, and they turned into like more diseased, ridden, shambling zombie type creatures. So this book follows the prince who has turned into one of those creatures. It follows his betrothed who's come from another kingdom with the intention to marry him to find out that he's dead. And it also follows a priest from another kingdom who has come to the country where Elantris is in order to convert it to his religion so that the kingdom that he is from does not come and annihilate the population. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 5 stars, but it's more like a 4.5. It's very slow. Nothing really happens until like page 580, and it's a 600 and something page book. So it's very slow, but I really did enjoy the writing style. I enjoyed finding out the intricacies of the magic system that has now been disabled. I've heard that this is being turned into a series in 2020. The second book will be released, and I'm really excited to continue, and I also really want to read more from Brandon Sanderson. It had a few plot twists in it that I wasn't expecting that I really appreciated, and this could possibly be the first real epic fantasy I've ever read, in which case I'm so excited to dive into that genre a little bit more. Then we had the challenge to read a book while wearing a hat the entire time. For that one I read Curtis J. Weeb and Rock Up Church's Rat Queens Volume 1, which is Sass and Sorcery. I gave this 5 stars. It's an adult graphic novel that follows 4 boozy battle maidens, are they called? Yeah. And essentially they start a bar brawl and they have to do community questing so that they don't get locked up in jail. And they go to do this quest and somebody tries to kill them, and it also happens to all of the other adventure groups that were also sent out to complete quests, so then they have to find out who was trying to kill them and why. The art in this is beautiful. I'll just show you one of the tarot card spreads. So this is like the character introductions page. I absolutely love these characters. I really love Hannah. They're sexy, they're unapologetic, they're strong, independent women. There's attractive men in here. There's interesting subplots. I'm really excited to continue with this graphic novel series. It's not quite as good as Saga, like I didn't love it that much, but I've heard that Saga is very hard to top anyway, and I'm excited to continue with the series. For the challenge to read a book with a beautiful spine, I read Batman Nightwalker by Marie Lu. I gave this one 3 stars. It is a YA superhero book. It is the second book in the DC Icon series. However, I haven't read the first one, which is Wonder Woman, yet. I didn't really like this. I gave it 3 stars because the reasons that I didn't like it were not really the book's fault. It was my fault for reading a book that I knew would contain things that I don't like. Because essentially, I don't really love action movies and I don't really like superheroes. So I read a superhero book, which is obviously going to be action-packed. So like I said, the reason that I didn't enjoy this was not really the book's fault. It did contain a character that I really liked, which was Madeline. She's morally grey, really intelligent, kind of leads the main character, who is Bruce Wayne, on this sort of like fun, well, it's fun for her, journey to manipulate him. But this follows Bruce Wayne as a teenager. He's just inherited his parents' fortune. He gets a lot of attention from the media that he doesn't really want. And one day while he's driving around, he stumbles upon this crime scene. He then hunts down the person who's committed the crime, and the police make him do community service for, is it like obstruction of justice or something like that? His community service is in Arkham Asylum. That's where he meets Madeline, who is involved with the Nightwalker gang that are terrorising Gotham City, and he tries to find out from her ways to stop them. The plot I didn't really care about. I found it quite difficult to read. I just really could not get into it at all, but like I said, I really love Madeline. I am going to carry on reading the DC Icons books because at least 2 of them are by 2 of my favourite authors. But I'm not really convinced to go and read anything else by Marie Lu unless you guys have read this and can tell me that one of her other books is better. And then finally, the last book that I read for Booktubeathon was to complete the challenge to read 7 books, and I read The Giver by Lois Lowry. This is the first children's book I've read this year. It's a utopia dystopia kind of situation. It appears to be a utopia, but it's more like a dystopia. This is a very sanitary society. The people can't see colour. They don't know what music is. They don't know a whole lot about the world as it is now, and that is because they've been rendered into the state of sameness, so they don't really feel anything, and it is to keep the population safe essentially. They have family units where they have a mum and a dad and a the children like a boy and a girl, and it's just like a really well working society, but the problem with that is it has no like stimulation. There's nothing exciting there. This follows our main character, who is 12-year-old Jonas, who has been chosen to be the new receiver. The receiver in this society is the person that holds all of the knowledge from the times before, so essentially like our society and what it is like now. So he has to give Jonas the knowledge so that Jonas can be the new receiver. So the kind of knowledge he gives him is things like what snow feels like, what the sun is. And Jonas, while he's excited to have this new responsibility, also struggles with some of the aspects of the society that he lives in. I gave this 4 stars. I did really like it. I don't really understand the end of it. It was really fast to read. I started it at like midnight and then finished it at like 4 o'clock the following afternoon, whilst also like living my life as well. Like I didn't just sit and read it. I'm intrigued to carry on with the quartet, although once again I've heard that the rest of the books are really not as good and it's kind of better to leave it as a standalone. But I know that they follow other concepts of what society could become, and I really like that idea. I do like the insight into a possible future contained in this book. Because it's a children's book, it was really easy to read. I would say though that if I was a child reading this, I would be quite terrified. There is a scene with an elephant in here that I found quite disturbing, and I think it's really sinister for a children's book. Other than that though, I did really enjoy it. Intrigued to continue. Not like a favourite, but it was really good. So that's everything that I read for Booktubeathon. Please let me know if you took part, how well you did, what books you read. Also, if you didn't take part in Booktubeathon, let me know if you read any of the books that I did, what your thoughts on them were. Did you really not like Nightwalker like me? But that's everything for today. Please don't forget to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to. If you head into my description box below, you'll find a link to my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, as well as a link to my Bookish body butter and candle website, the Instagram for that, and 10% off discount code. But that's it from me today. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you'll go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.